All right. Good evening. Sorry for being a bit late to Daf Yomi because of parent-teacher conferences.
Yeah.
But parents need the conferences. That's what we're going to do. And we need our sponsors, and we thank them so much. We have amazing sponsors for this weekend tonight. This week is sponsored by Shmuley and Miriam Fuchs, Lili Nishmas, Miriam's father, Henoch Ben Yaakov Lakoin, Zechron Baruch, whose yard site is on the 7th of Kislev. Baruch Hashem, I saw. He's here learning already, probably. He's not here.
Soon.
That's right. He was already up, around, Baruch Hashem, feeling better.
Wonderful.
Daf Yomi for the week is sponsored by Ryan and Talia Bernkoff. Legally Nishmas, Talia's grandfather, Mayor Zev Ben Yitzchak Cohen Zichron Baruch, whose yard site is tonight and tomorrow, and so Mrs. Bernkoff is at conferences also as well. And Parsha Shiur will be on which is not going on if you're right. But we'll record. We'll do something.
Okay.
That's going to be in the 5th of Kislev, and tonight's daf is sponsored by Pamela Rose, Lili Nishmas, her sister, Chaya Menucha Bas Eliezer Chana, whose yard site is tonight and tomorrow, the 5th of Kislev as well. Neshama Shav and Aliyah. We are finishing up this last little section where our Mishnah had stated, right, that if you, in Olas Ha'of, when it comes to this bird Ola that we've been doing, right, if you change it, you do some kind of a change to it, so then you do an action of a chatos to it, it invalidates the offering. That's what we said. So the Gemara wants to know, Deshani b'mai, what exactly is it that you did differently? Like, what is the change? So, Ilema, Deshani b'malika. Maybe the issue is that you changed. Remember, we had been discussing yesterday that there are differences in the way that a korban chatos and a korban ola's malika is done. When it comes to a korban malika, you have to go through both vessels. When it comes to the chatas, only one. We also talked about going around through the thick part of the neck before doing the second one. We had differences. Bottom line, it's different. So maybe that's the issue. But then it says Katani Seifa, because the Mishnah, which we're about to learn later on this page, right? Kulan, it says Kulan ein metamin bebeis habliya. Any of these, right? If you make any of the changes, that you're going to make any of the changes that we're discussing, so it's not going to create what's called tuma bebeis habliya. When you have a bird that dies without shchita, so that bird becomes tameh when you swallow it. So when it comes to an animal, right? If you have an animal that dies, a kosher animal that dies without shchita, so then it's tameh when you lift it, carry it, etc. But that's not by a bird. By a bird is less so. Less the tumah of a bird is only when you swallow it. So,
if you're stuck on an island, you have no anything to. Sorry? What if you're stuck on an island and you have no knives or anything to shecht it? Then what do you do?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I don't understand.
If you're stuck on an island and you have no knives.
Oh, if you're stuck on an island, you have nothing, then eat coconuts.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, bebeis hab. So emitam and bebeis habliya. Then it says vem moalin bahen. And also, right, there's no you can use them. There's no prohibition of me'ila, right? Because since they're invalidated, right? So there's no there's mo'alin bahen means that there is me'ila, because since they have been invalidated, they never became permitted for the kohen, right? The korban chatos is permitted for the kohen to eat, right? If it was done properly, the kohen could eat it, but since it's not done properly, it's still in the category of apostle korban, it has a me'ila problem. So then, nema, so if you're going to say, our Mishnah is going to be deloka Rabbi Yeshua, our Mishnah is not going to follow Rabbi Yeshua's opinion. Because, de'ika Rabbi Yeshua, because Rabbi Yeshua says, ha'amar, he's the one who says that if you did malika on this bird of this chatas ha'of, and you did it like a korban chatos, so ein moalin, then there is no me'ila, right? He says that there is no me'ila. So therefore, the Mishnah that seems to say that there is me'ila problems would not go like Rabbi Yeshua. So, and that's going to be a problem. You can't make the Mishnah not like Rabbi Yeshua and like Rabbi Eliezer, because Rabbi Eliezer is one of Beis Shammai's students. We know the halacha is always like Beis Hillel.
Right.
So therefore, how could you establish our Mishnah to follow Rabbi Eliezer's opinion, not Rabbi Yeshua's opinion? That would ruin everything. So we don't want to say our next Mishnah is according to Beis Shammai only. Therefore, ve'ela, what's the change we're talking about? B'mitzui. The change is that they squeezed the blood out differently, right? Because by a chatos, we had said, that you're supposed to sprinkle it and then you're supposed to squeeze from the body of the bird, right? Let's say, right, he did a sprinkling rather than a squeezing, but by an ola, you have to do a squeezing, right? So therefore, that's where Rabbi Yeshua says that there's no that's where Rabbi Yeshua doesn't say that there's no me'ilah, and therefore that's the change that's being made. If you do the mitzah, which is also done differently between the squeezing of the blood out, which is done differently by the ola and chatos, if that change happens, that's the psul that we're talking about. Okay, Ema Seifa. Now let's talk about the end part of the Mishnah that that's coming up, which is interesting. Gemara is now spending some time going through the Mishnah that we have not yet learned, which we're about to learn in a moment. Olas ha'of she'aso lemata kemase chatos l'shem chatos. If you take a bird ola and you do it, normally we're supposed to do it above on the mizbeach. Let's see the picture again, right?
The Gemara does this all the time.
Our olas ha'of is up here, right? Our chatos is down here. Right. So we're doing our olas oaf. Let's say if you do the olas oaf, you did it down below, kemas chatos, in the way that a chatos is done, l'shem chatos, and you do it with the intention of it being a chatos. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Mo'alin Ba. Rabbi Eliezer says now there's a prohibition of me'ilah attached to it, and Rabbi Yeshua Omer Ein Mo'alin Ba, and Rabbi Yeshua says there's no me'ilah, and we're going to see because he actually says that the ola actually turns into a chatos. If it talks like a chatos and it walks like a chatos, it's a chatos, right? So basically, if you did it in the location of the chatos and you did the actions like a chatos and you did it for the sake of a chatos, then it's a chatos. Even though you was an ola, it's a chatos now. So deshani b'mai. So now, what is the change that he did that made it like a chatos? If it's like you just suggested that they just squeeze the blood differently. Amar Amar Rabbi Yeshua, where Rabbi Yeshua says that there's no me'ilah, that is Deshani b'malika, right? That's where you change. You also had to do malika differently as well, right? By making the entire action, you did the entire bird like a chatos, the entire way. Therefore, there's no me'ilah because now it's a chatos, and now it's valid, and the Kohen can eat it and everything. There's no me'ilah. So, b'mitzvah miyamar. But would he say that if you just did mitzvah, there's no me'ilah? Of course, if you shechted an ola like an ola, and then you just did mitzvah the wrong way, so then for sure it's not an acceptable sacrifice. If it's not an acceptable sacrifice, then the prohibition of using it still is in effect. Again, remember that me'ilah means I cannot use this because it belongs to the Beis HaMikdash. Until I do the sacrifice properly, and the Kohen's permitted to eat it, it belongs to the Beis HaMikdash. So unless you do it right, me'ilah should still exist. Ve'ela, so rather you have to explain the Mishnah as b'melika. So now, if that's the case, that means you're going to have to explain if the Mishnah, that part of the Mishnah is talking about Malika. Then you have Reisha, right? Our Mishnah, right, which is talking about the bird offering of the Chatos, if you made the change. So that's going to be talking about Malika. The Seifa, and then the end part is going to be talking about Malika, as we just suggested. It has to be done with Malika properly. Mitziyasa, but mitzvah. But the middle part, we said, we had no choice. That had to be with squeezing the blood out. Well, that's strange because now we're switching back and forth between different parts, right? The first we were talking about one thing, then we were talking about the next, and then we switched back. Why? Then our Mishnah is not talking about the same thing all the way through? The answer is yeah, that happens. And we don't like that, but it's not improbable for a Mishnah to change topics. So therefore, that's how we're going to learn it. Reisha v'seifa, the beginning, our Mishnah, which talks about changing the ola to act like a chatos, it's going to be talking about malika, and that's going to invalidate it. Then the seifa, the end part, which talks about if you did the entire thing that you did the entire ola as a chatos with the name of a chatos for the sake of a chatos, that it becomes valid as a chatos. That's also with malika, and the middle. Right, that's the mitzvah. So the middle part is b'mitzvah, where he says that it isn't, that it has to be Rabbi Yeshua's opinion that holds that there is a me'ilah problem. That's with mitzvah. So we switch back and forth. Okay, told you I wasn't gonna. Yeah. That's why I paused for a couple minutes before the shiur. I think I got it right. If you go back over, but still difficult.
More like 5-10 minutes. You stopped there.
Sorry, yes, but we need to get that section right. Otherwise, we're on to the next Mishnah.
Got
okay. Mishnah says like this. Okay, we're talking about the chatas, the oaf, and the olas oaf, right? Two types. By the way, just to be able to point out, that's the only two bird offerings there are. There's no shlamim, there's no asham, so you only got to know about two types of bird offerings.
The Gemara brings up the different parts of the Mishnah to prepare to the next Mishnah.
That's it. We've done them. We did ola and we did chatas. We know how they're done. That's all there is to know. Now, v'chulan, all the chatos and the olos that are mentioned in the Mishnah, right? All the different ways that you've done them, whether you've done them kshera or you've done them puzzle, ein mitamin bebeis abliya. So they don't make if you do the malika, whichever way that you do it, and if you thought it for the wrong purpose, whatever it is,
we have 5 months of these.
The malika is valid. Therefore, the bird is not considered an unshechted bird, right? You think, well, I did the malika wrong. The korban is a pasul korban. Therefore, if somebody eats this, it's their tummy. The answer is no, not so, right? Even if the korban becomes pasul in the ways that we described, the me'ila, the malika is still a real kosher malika. It has the status of shchita and that right, and for sure when it's kosher, then and the kohen can eat it for sure. There's no tuma. Ve'moalin bahem, and you can commit me'ila, as we just said, right? The problem is that if you had a korban chatos and you invalidated it, so it's a korban chatos that can't be used. Korban chatos that can't be used is now, if you do use it, again, then you're violating a prohibition of using something that belongs to the Mikdash. We call that me'ila. If the chatos was done properly, then the kohen can eat it, then there's no me'ila problem. You're just taking it from a kohen, right? He's not kodesh, he's not hektish, so therefore that's not me'ila. The only thing is, chutz mechatas ha'of she'oso lemata k'masei chatos l'shem chatos. Unless you take a chatas ha'of, right? And you do it like a chatos, as a chatos, right? Because that's the right way to do it. You took your chatos bird, you did it in the right place, you did it with the right malika. In that circumstance, then there's no me'ila, because the kohen is allowed to eat it now, and therefore there's no me'ila. Okay, that's what we say. Now, olas ha'of, when it comes to the bird offering, she'aso lamata, if you do it in the wrong place, you do it below the red line, k'masei chatos, you do it like a chatos, and l'shem chatos, and you do everything like a chatos, it's supposed to be an olah, but you do it like a chatos. Now, Rabbi Eliezer says, mo'alim ba, right? Even after you apply the blood, there's me'ila, because it's supposed to be an olah. So you did it wrong. So it's pasul. And Rabbi Yeshua Omer ein mo'alim ba. Rabbi Yeshua says, there's no me'ila. Why? Sounds like he's saying, because it turns into a kosher korban chatos. Right? So he does everything, he does all the chatos, it turns into a chatos. Okay, that's what we're going to explain. Okay. Let's discuss back and forth between Rabbi and Yeshua on this. I'm a Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says, Uma im chatos she'in mo'alim ba lishma. He says, when it comes to a chatos, you can't commit me'ila, right, if you do it properly, right? So, because why? Because then if you do it properly, kohanim can eat it. Once kohanim can eat it, there's no me'ila prohibition. Kesheshina eshma mo'alim ba. When you change the chatos and turn it into an olah, well, that we know. We had that rule yesterday, and we've had that rule since the beginning of the Masechta. Whenever you have a chatos and you do it not l'shem chatos, it ruins the chatos and it becomes pasul. And the rule by a pasul chatos is that you commit me'ila. So a chatos that if you do right is not me'ila, but if you do it wrong is me'ila. Ola shemoa limba lishma. An ola is always a prohibition me'ila. Why? Because you can never eat the ola. The ola is supposed to be burned on the korban, as burned on the mizbeach. So even if you do it right, it's me'ila. So kesheshina shma, when you do it wrong, ain't no din shimel, but for sure, then kavachomer, it should be, right? The chatos, if you do it right, it's not me'ila. If you do it wrong, it is me'ila. Then an ola, which is me'ila even if you do it right, for sure, it's me'ila if you do it wrong. So Amar lo Rabbi Yeshua says, lo. He says, no, it's not a good kavachomer. I disagree. Im amarta bechatos, if you're talking about a chatos, sheshina ashma l'shem ola, by a chatos, you changed it to an ola, shekein shina shma l'davar sheish b'meila. Well, in that case, what have you done? You've changed your chatos, which didn't have meila, into an ola, which has meila. That's why it's a problem. It has meila. But tomar ba'ola, if you take the ola, it goes reverse. you're changing the ola into a chatos. The ola sheshina shma l'shem chatos. If you change an ola to a chatos, shekain shina shma l'davar she'ein bo meila. You've just changed it into something that has no meila. So therefore, that's why it's acceptable. Okay, Amar lo Rabbi Eliezer, says Rabbi Eliezer back to him. Varei kodche kodshim sheshchoton bedorom ushchoton l'shem kodshim kalim yochichu. He says, well, let's take a kodshim. Let's take an animal korban that if you shechted it in the south, kodshim, we learned had to be shechted in the north. So let's say he shechted in the south, so now it's puzzle, right? And you shechted it for the sake of kodshim kalim, right? You took
the animal and grab another animal to shecht.
You got to have to replace it. Yeah, you got to do it again, right? So now, however, what's the status of this animal? So this person takes it and he decides, hey, it's a shlamim, and he decides he's going to shecht in the south, but it's not. So what's the rule? So he says, shekain shina shmam, davar she'ein bo me'ila. You changed it into a shlamim. Well, what happens to a shlamim? A shlamim can be eaten by the owner. So you've changed it from an ola, which is a me'ila, to a korban which doesn't have me'ila. And what's the rule? According to you, that means that it shouldn't have no me'ila, because you just said, if I change it from something that does have me'ila to something that doesn't have me'ila, it should not have me'ila. But umalin bahen. But we say, no, the shechita, since it was done in the south, invalidates the korban, which means that it's still me'ila. So your rule is incorrect. So afata al titma ala ola. So you shouldn't be so astonished that what I'm saying is true about the ola. Afal pi sheshina shma le davar she'ein bo me'ila. Even though you're changing the ola to a chatos, which doesn't have me'ila if done properly, shimalubot still is me'ila. Because it's the same thing. If I change my animal ola to an animal shlamim, it's me'ila. So too, if I change my bird chatos to a bird ola to a bird chatos, it still is me'ila. Amar lo Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says, no, that's not a proof. Im amarta bekodche kodshim. I'll tell you what's different. By the kodche kodshim, the ola, this animal ola that you had, sheshchaton bedorom ushchaton l'shem kodshim kalim. You shecht it in the south. And you shechted it as a shlamim, shekain shina es shemam l'davar sheishbo iser v'heter. You have changed it to a korban which has some parts of it that you can eat and some parts that you can't. Because the shlamim, some parts you burn, some parts you eat. Tomar ba'ola, which is not what you're doing with the bird ola. Sheshina shma l'davar shekulo heter. You've changed the ola bird into a chatos bird. The entire chatos bird is eaten by the kohen. None of it is burned on the mizbeach. So you can't compare those two korbanos.
You're not going to put them on the table.
Oh, I hope it's been on.
It's right over there. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it is on.
Okay, good. It's been on. I'll probably.
Pick it up. Yeah.
Sure, we'll pick it up. This is much better. Okay, good. Thank you.
Don't come observing for no reason.
Says the Gemara. Tanya, we learn in Brisa more detail about this argument between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, and it goes like this: Amar lo Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Eliezer says to Rabbi Yeshua, I'll prove to you that if you took an asham and you shechted it in the north and you changed it, you had in mind as a shlamim, which we said was kosher, right? To change an asham. Because shina ashmo, you've changed this korban from an asham to a shlamim, mo'alin bo, right? So you're still going to commit me'ilah. Because before you throw the blood, right? Because the animal is now a valid korban, you can't use it. So therefore, before you throw the blood, it is going to be me'ilah. You shouldn't be so shocked that I'm suggesting also an ola that even though you've changed it into a chatos, it should commit me'ilah, right? And basically he's pointing out again, something that got changed from one korban to another should still be able to keep its status as being able to be me'ilah. To which Amar lo Rabbi Yeshua says, I can't compare those two cases. He says in asham, I'll tell you the difference. If you've changed the name of the korban, right? He didn't shecht it in the wrong place. He still did it in the north. Hence, the korban is still kosher. So therefore, of course, if the korban is still kosher, it's going to still be a problem of me'ilah. Tongmar be'ola, you can't say that about an ola, because the case of the ola was sheshina shma veshina es mikoma. The case in the Mishnah was he took the ola from up here and he brought it over here and he shechted it and he did all the work. He did everything as a chatos. That's why it doesn't have me'ilah anymore. Amar lo Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says back. Okay, we'll try again. Asham sheshchato bedorim l'shem shlamim yochiach. Fine. Let's take, for example, you had an asham, and the Kohen brought it to the south side of the Mizbeach in the wrong place, and he says, this is going to be a shlamim. Now, wrong place, wrong korban, sheshina shmo v'shinas mikomo, he has changed which korban it is, and he has changed the location to the wrong location, and yet, mo'alinbo. So, you're still going to commit me'ilah before you sprinkle the blood. Therefore, you shouldn't be astonished that the ola that just because you took the ola bird ola and you moved it to where the chatos is done and you did it like a chatos, it still should be a problem of me'ilah. Amar lo Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says to him, "Lo, you can't compare the two. Ima marta be'osham." If you're talking about a korban asham, sheshina shmo v'shinas mikomo, you have changed its name and its location, lo shina es ma'asav. But the way that a korban asham and a korban shlamim is done are the same. Same shchita, right? Same throwing of the blood. It's not going to be different. Tomar ba'ola, how can you change that by an ola? By an ola, the whole action is different. Shina shema es masel. Shina's mekoma. You've changed the bird. You've decided this is going to be a chatos. Then you did the malika like a chatos. Then you did it in the place of a chatos. That's why it changes into a chatos. Okay, fine. That's back and forth with that brisa. So Rabbi Yeshua Rabbi Eliezer kept trying to show him you can change a korban from one to the other and still maintain that the new korban has me'ilah as a problem, to which Rabbi Yeshua keeps pointing out that it's different. This korban ola to a chatos is different because it's actually, as we're going to see, he's actually changing the ola into a chatos by changing three things. Changing the way that he did the malika, changing the location, and changing his mind what the Kohen as he's doing it. So it actually changes into a chatos. Therefore, as a chatos, it can be eaten, and since it can be eaten, there's no problem of me'ilah if somebody else takes it. Amar Rava says, "V'neimeli, why doesn't Rabbi Eliezer try this? Why didn't he tell Rabbi Yeshua, Asham sheshchatu b'dorim l'shem shlamim b'shinoi balin? Change everything. Make it an asham that got done in the south as a shlamim, and you changed the owner. Sheshina es shmo, because now he's changed the korban from an asham to a shlamim. He's changed v'shina's mekom. He's changed the location from the north to the south. V'shina es masov, and he hasn't done it for the action is different. Why? Because he did it not for person A, but he did it for a person B.
He's playing games.
So now, nevertheless, it's still a me'ilah problem. So lo kamar lehachi. So the fact that he didn't ask that shmamina nochis Rabbi Eliezer letamei de Rabbi Yeshua. That eventually Rabbi Eliezer decided he was going to agree with Rabbi Yeshua. He didn't continue that line of reasoning. Because Damar Rav Ada Barava, as Rav Ada Barava says, Amar Haya Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua said, "Ola sa'osha asol lamata kemase chatos l'shem chatos." He says, if Rabbi Yeshua's statement was, if somebody had a bird ola and he does it below the red line as a chatos, with the intention of it being a chatos, kevan shemolak bas siman echad. Once he does malika on one siman, nimsheches v'nasis chatas ha'of, it actually turns into a chatas ha'of. And so therefore, eventually Rabbi Eliezer figured out what Rabbi Yeshua's point was. And therefore, what's the point of keep asking you the question? It doesn't matter whether me'ilah applies in a different circumstance, because nobody ever claims that you're changing a korban into another korban in any other circumstance. This time, you could change it from one korban to the next, right? And before I'm trying to figure out why should that be, and the answer is because potentially, as we said, there's only two types of bird korbanos, ola and chatos. So it's sort of a binary switch. If it's not one, it's the other. So therefore, if you like we said, if it talks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's a duck, right? So therefore, if it's done like a chatas, with in mind like a chatas, you're changing it from an ola to a chatas 100%, and it becomes valid to be eaten. Okay, ihachi. Okay, so the Gemara wants to know if that is true. Chatas of nami. So then a bird chatos. Why doesn't it go the other way, right? If it's binary switch, then why, if you do it the other way, is it's not true? Chatas ha'of nami. If you had a chatas ha'of, a bird chatos, she'also lemala k'masa ola, you go up to the top of this bag and you do it like an ola. Miki malik basimon echad timoshech v'tihave olas ha'of. Right. So once you do the malika on one of the the vessels, so then it should change and turn into an olas ha'of and be kosher, right? And before you say, hey, yeah, that's a good point, why not? So Rabbi Yochanan Mishur Rabbi Bana. So Rabbi Yochanan says the name of Rabbi Bana. Kachi hetse'a shel Mishnah. So this, he said, this is the order of this is the way of structuring and answering the Mishnah. And what did he mean? What was he trying to say? My love, kachu hetse'a, right? This is what's taught, meaning the Mishnah only tells you what is the fact. The fact is that ola can turn into a chatos, v'tulo, and not anything else, meaning not that a chatos can turn into an ola. That's not true. So the answer is no, that's not true. Kach hetseya shel kula Mishnah. What we mean to say is, no, this is the meaning of the entire Mishnah. Meaning that just like you could take an ola and turn it into a chatos, also they had an argument about whether you could take a chatos and turn it into an ola. Right? So the argument goes both ways. So that's how we're going to understand it. Okay, that's the first view. But Rav Ashi says no. Bishlama, I'll tell you why it's not true. Why it's not true. Why you can't change a chatos into an ola, but you can change an ola into a chatos. Bishlama olas ha'of she'aso lemato kemase chatos l'shem chatos. I understand that a bird ola, that you do it below the red line, like a chatos, as a chatos, kevan deha hechshera, you have turned it into a chatos because you did it 100% like a chatos, besimon echad, when you punctured the first of the vessels, veha hechshera b'shnei simonim, but the ola doesn't work the same way. Because if you took the chatos and you went above the red line and you did it like an ola, but you punctured one of the vessels, the fact that you punctured one vessel makes it not an ola, because an ola has to be done with two. The olas ha'of lemata leisa. So, right, an olas ha'of, which is done before, kevan demolak basiman echad. Once you've done the malika on one of them below, so it becomes a psul of an olas oaf, because he didn't do both of them. So he's only done one. So therefore, it's clear that he's turned it into a chatos. Nimsheches v'nasis chatas ha'of. He's now changed it into a bird chatos. El chatas ha'of. But the other way, if I take off the chatas ha'of, the bird chatos, kevan de omar mar. Since we learned above, malika bechol makom kishera, you could do malika on the ola anywhere. Remember, it doesn't have to be there. So that michim malak basiman echad. Once you do the malika like a chatos, and you've done it anywhere, ipasla. Now all you've done is a puzzle malika on an ola. You've invalidated your bird offering. You didn't make it kosher, you made it an invalid ola. So, ki hadar malik be'idach siman. So if he goes through and he punctures the other one, hechi mimashcha v'havya olas ha'of. How can you turn it back into an olas oaf after you've already made it into a ruined korban? So therefore, that's why it doesn't work both ways, right? The malika that you do on the chatas, turning it into an ola, is going to invalidate. But if you do the ola turning into a chatas, that is going to be an acceptable malika. Okay, so therefore he holds that it doesn't go both ways, right? That's the bottom line of it. One opinion, we had Rabbi Yochanan's opinion that says you can turn a chatos into an ola and an ola into a chatos, and now we have Rav Ashi, he says no, you can turn an ola into a chatos, but not you can turn an ola into a chatos, but not a chatos into an ola. Okay, Gufa. Let's deal with this statement of Rav Adabar Ava. Gufa, we said, Amar Rav Adabar Ava says, Omer Haya Rabbi Yeshua held, Ola sa'of she'asel lemata k'masa chatos. Rabbi Yeshua holds that if you have a bird ola, that you do it below the red line, like k'masa chatos, like a chatos, l'shem chatos, for the sake of a chatos, kevan shemalak basiman echad. Once you do malika on one of the vessels, so then nimshechas v'nasis chatas oaf immediately becomes chatas oaf. It was done validly, and that's that. Okay. So now we're going to ask a question on that. Toshma, come and listen. And this is a Mishnah in Maseches Kinim. The Maseches Kinim Mishnayos are a little bit complicated, so let's see how we do. Okay. Okay. So now the Mishnah is there are two women that are each chayav because they gave birth. So they're going to have to bring a bird chatos and a bird ola. Okay, so you've got two ladies. And they brought them both at the same time. And they came. Sorry, take that back. Two women. One was supposed to bring a chatos ha'of, and one was supposed to bring an ola ha'of. How did that happen? Right? So what happened is they were both originally obligated to bring ola and a chatos. One already brought her chatos, one already brought her ola. So they said, okay, well, let's be partners. We'll go in together. I still need an ola. You still need a chatos. Let's buy a nest together. We'll do one as a chatos, one as an ola, and that's their partnership. Okay? So that's what they decided to do. Now, so also shtehen lamala. So let's say the Kohen doesn't realize it, and he does both of the birds on the Mizbeach as olos. Mechza kosher, mechza pasel. So then half of them, right, is going to be kosher, and one's kosher, one's not. Right? So shtehen lemata, if he did both of them below, mechza kosher, mechza pasel, then they're both, one's kosher, one's pasel. Now, that's going to be our issue, because we'll say one is going to be kosher, one's pasel. Achas lemala v'achas lemata, shtehen psulos. If he does one of them above and one of them below, they're both pasel, because they mixed them up. So we don't know whether could be the Kohen brought the ola down below and brought the chatas up above. So the whole thing's mixed up. She'ani omer, because maybe I could say what might have happened is chatas kreva lamala, ola kreva lamata. This is a Maseches Kinim is probability, right? That's the whole Maseches Kinim is great. It's all probability. That if there's a chance that it could have been done, then right, I've got a chance if I've got two animals, since it's possible that each one was brought in the wrong location, they're both no good. Right. Okay, so now the Gemara wants to know. Nehi nami de'ola kreva lemata timshoch v'tehave chatas ha'of. I don't understand. Even if you made that mistake and you brought one above, one below, the one below should be valid, because even if the ola was the one you brought below, you change it into a chatas. So the answer is Amar de'amar Rabbi Yoshua bechad gavra. He says no. Rabbi Yoshua makes this statement when you're talking about one person, meaning this person had to bring an ola and a chatos, and they brought both of them as a chatos. They brought both birds. So since this person, right, is with one, right, he had to bring an ola and a chatos. So if he reversed it, so since he had to bring an ola anyway, so then since he had to bring a chatas anyway, the ola turns into a chatas. Okay, but that's only one person. But in this circumstance, this Mishnah is talking about two ladies. One of the ladies only had to bring a chatos. Since she only had to bring a chatos, if they took a bird that was designed as an ola, and that means it's not even hers. Right? Because you can't change her ola bird into your chatos. Right? You can't do that because she has no part in this bird. My bird was the chatos. Yours was the ola. So now you took my ola and made it into your chatos. How can you do that? So, So yeah, but they made a deal. You were going to have a chatos, and I was going to have an ola. You took my ola to turn it into your chatos. That doesn't work.
How's that valid?
So it's not valid. So therefore, that's why it's different. So that's why Rabbi Yeshua says with one person it can work. Now with two people.
Right.
Okay. Toshma. Another Mishnah in Kinim. Okay. This case is, okay, 2 women. Every one of them had to bring 3 birds. Okay. One was obligated to bring an ola and a chatos, and another one as an ola. How could that happen? That's simple. She gave birth, and then she made a pledge, right? I want to donate an ola. The other one was supposed. Sorry, I was reading the notes here. The other one's case is that she's going to bring an ola and a chatos, and she has to bring one more, but she has a chatos that she has to bring also. She has a leftover chatos that she owes. So each one is bringing 3 birds. Okay. So I think I'll be able to write it down.
Yeah, so visually good.
Right, I was going to say. Okay. Lady number 1 and lady number 2. She has to bring an ola, a chatos, and an ola. Okay, ola, chatos, ola.
Right.
Lady number 2 has to bring an ola and a chatos and another chatos. Okay, that's what they have to bring.
Okay.
Now, and of course the Kohanim are going to mess this completely up. That's whole Maseches Kinim. You're going, somebody write it down. Just pay attention to what you're doing. But that doesn't happen. They always mess it up. Okay. So now, so there's going to be 6 birds. Okay. So they decided that since they need 6 birds, it's very simple. You've got really 3 pairs of ola and chatos that you need. So you just so they're going to go together and they're going to buy 3 pairs. Okay. Now, they decided in the first one is a chatos and ve'ola, right? Vestuma. So they decided the first one, in the first nest, they said, this one's going to be a chatos, this one's going to be an ola. Then they brought a second one, and they didn't say anything. They didn't say which one's going to be a chatos, which one's going to be an ola. Then meforeshus. And then they got a third one, and when they bought it, they said, this one is going to be a chatos, and this one's going to be an ola. Okay? But they didn't decide which person owns which chatos and which one owns the chatos and which one's the ola. So now, what it comes out is 2 of the birds are established and set. Okay? 2 of the birds are established and set as a chatos, and 2 of them are established as an ola. And then we have a third nest, which is plain. Okay? So this is what they bought. They got bird nest number 1, ola chatos. That was what they bought first. Then they bought a second one, ola and chatos. Then they bought nest number 3, and they didn't specify. Okay? That's what they did. Now.
What you know, the nest, unknown nest.
And the plan is, right, they're going to take one and do it above, one and do it below. Now, when it comes to birds, right, since there's only 2 choices, you can either designate the birds when you purchase them, the owner can designate when you purchase them, or they can be left undesignated, and when the Kohen does the bird, he can designate it. So that's what they decided with this third one, right? The Kohen's choice. Their wild card, wherever the Kohen brings it, that's going to be good. Okay, so now, but the Kohen messed up. So what does he do? He does asa kulan lemala. So he did all 3 of the bird. He did all 6 of the birds above the red line. So he did them all as olas. So now, what's going to happen? Mechza kosher umechza pasal. 3 of them are going to be fine. 3 are not. Why? This ola is fine because it was an ola. This chatos, not okay. This ola, fine. This one, not okay. This one above, it's going to be fine, wild card, but he doesn't need a third, but there was no obligation to bring another ola, so this one is not okay, right? So...
But we didn't need 3 olas to begin with. So we got 3 olas.
So 1 second, that's right. We had 3 olos, so...
Right?
Yes, correct. Well, so we got this ola is kosher, this ola is kosher, this ola is kosher.
Right.
This is not.
Right.
Okay, that's where we are.
Right. Yep.
Good. Kulan lemata, let's say they do all of them below the red line, all 6 below. Then mechza kosher, mechza pasul. Also, same thing again. This one's going to be pasul. Now this is what we're going to ask, right? Well, this one's pasul, this one's kosher, this one's pasul, this one's kosher. This one is going to be kosher because we did it below, and then this one will be pasul, right? Now, chetzion lemala v'chetzion lemata. Let's say they took a random 3 and they did them above, and a random 3 and they did them below. Okay, so one goes above, one goes below, but we didn't pay attention to which one was the ola, which one's the chatos. So therefore, this one might have been brought below, pasul. This one might have been brought above, pasul. This one might have been brought below, pasul. This one might have been brought above, pasul. This one, wherever you bring it, it's going to be fine, right? This one, wherever you're going to bring it, is going to be fine. So therefore, eina kshera ela stuma. The only ones that are going to be okay are going to be the ones that were not specified. Okay, so that's going to be okay. Whichever one you did above and whichever one you did below is going to be okay. Mischalekes beinehen. Okay, so now.
There's a cup in there if you want.
So what do they do? 1 second.
Yeah.
The only thing is, right, they don't know who the Ola counted for and who the Chatos counted for. Because remember, this was Lady A's bird, this was Lady B's bird. We don't know which one got the Ola, which one got a Chatos. We just know the Ola and the Chatos are fine. But we don't know if Lady A got a Chatos or an Ola. We don't know if Lady B got a Chatos and Ola. Right? So fair enough. So what are you supposed to do? So v'mischalekes beinehen. What they have to do is this nest is split between them. So what they have to do is they have to buy another bird's nest, and they will say, they make a condition. If the Ola is mine and the Chatos is yours, so then now in this nest the Chatos is going to be mine and the Ola is going to be yours to match up. But if the Chatos was mine and the Ola was yours, then now in this new nest the Ola is going to be mine and the Chatos is going to be yours. As a result of that, so then out of the whole 6, only 2 are kosher. That's the bottom line. And they're going to have to buy some other kind of nests they have to buy more birds in order to make it up, and they have to make this condition. Okay, so now, here's the question. Ilu mifurashin lo. So now, if the point is that if these birds were clearly stated what they were, so then they would not be kosher, right? Now, amai, right? Now, there's the whole reason why they were kosher is because we didn't specify them. Why should that be? Nehinami de'ula kreva lemata timshuch v'tehave chatas ha'of. What's the problem? Even if one is an ola, one's a chatos, right? So you could take the ola and turn it into a chatos anyway. So now you can't say that by the first birds because we already specified and said these we can't because one belongs to one belongs to the other. We can't. That's why you couldn't switch it, right? But by the last one, we never specified, right? Nobody knows, was the chatas mine, was the chatas yours? We didn't even know whose was whose. So therefore, if nobody was specifying which bird was which, who cares? One was the ola, one was the chatos. We should make it so that even if it was an ola, it would be able to be valid below. So, v'chitema hadelo Rabbi Yeshua. Maybe your answer is that this Mishnah is not like Rabbi Yeshua. That's why it's no good. You can't flip the ola to a chatos. Then the answer is mi matzis amrizach. You can't say that because toshma. Because it becomes very clear in the next Mishnah that we are following Rabbi Yeshua's opinion. That we're going to see that he's going to explain that he's going to explain our Mishnah, and he's going to make a comment at the end on something. And since he's going to make a comment, he is going to indicate that he's agreeing with everything else in the Mishnah. So, here we go. This Mishnah is a little bit more complicated, a little bit more, right?
Great.
Right? So he says, so Tashma, Ha'isha Shamra, Hare Alai Kan, Im Eled Zochar. Let's say a person, the lady says, I'm going to bring 2 birds if my child is a boy. Okay? So since that's a gift, she's promising, let's make these cases here. Right? She's promising, lady number 1 now, she's promising to bring 2 olos because she is, right? She's promising to bring something. Lady number 2, so what happens with her? So now, sorry, this is Aisha Shamra. So she says she has to bring if the first, so she needs to bring 2 olos, and she has to bring for the birth another ola and a chatos. So this is her present. This is the ola and the chatos that she has to bring. So now she has to bring 3 olos and 1 chatos. Okay. So what does she do? Nasnasan lakohen. She gives her 4 birds over to the kohen. Hakohen tzarich la'asosan shalosh lemala v'achas lamata. The right thing to do is the kohen does 3 of the birds above, 1 below. That would have been perfect, right? Lo asakin. Of course, that's not what he does. Okay, what he does, Ella also shtaim lemalo shtaim lamata. So now, what does he do? He did 2 above and 2 below, because he thought that this was a regular bird pair, right? He thought she had given birth to, I don't know, twice or something like that, or maybe he didn't even know. One was for one woman, right? He thought that he had to bring 2 chatoses, 2 olas. So now, velo nimlach, he never asked, right? So he did it the way he thought. So now he's done 1 of the chatos instead of an ola. He's done a chatos because, right? He was supposed to, he did 2 chatoses and 2 olos. So that means 1 of the olos he turned into a chatos. So tzricha shetavi od preda achas. What does she have to do? She's got to bring another set of birds. She has to bring another bird. Vatikirvena lamala mimin echad, and she has to bring 1 more bird. Okay. For the ola that is missing. That's right. Great. Now. Okay. Now, that's mimin echad. That's all great if the birds that she brought were all doves or all pigeons. Now it gets complicated because when you bring a set of birds, they have to be the same type. You can't bring 1 bird and 1 dove and 1 pigeon. They have to be 2 doves, 2 pigeons. So therefore, can't do 1 dove, 1 pigeon.
1.
Correct. So now, okay, let's say she goes and she gets 2 doves and 2 pigeons. Okay, so now we're going to wind up with a problem. So now, as a result, she's going to have to bring 2 more. She has to bring 2 more birds. Okay, so why? Because in this circumstance, the Kohen has brought 1 of the doves and 1 of the pigeons above the red line, and 1 of the doves and 1 of the pigeons below the red line. That's what he's done. So the dove and the pigeon that he brought above the red line, that's fine, because there's an ola in this set that he had to bring, and an ola in this set that he had to bring. So he did this one, no problem, and he did this one, no problem. Now the problem is he did one of these wrong, but we don't know which of them that he did wrong. Therefore, we have to bring a replacement for this guy and a replacement for this guy. So we have to bring 1 dove, because maybe the dove was the one that was brought. Again, we have to be that the Kohen didn't realize which, wasn't paying attention. If he knows which one he did wrong, he didn't bring the Yonah or the... But the bottom line is we don't know whether the dove or the pigeon was supposed to be the one that was above. Therefore, she has to bring 1 dove and 1 pigeon, because since these were done below, the one that was done below was fine, but the one that's done above is not fine. Sorry, one of the ones done below is not fine. She needs to bring 1 more ola, but we don't know whether it's supposed to be a dove or a pigeon. So therefore, she has to bring one dove and one pigeon. Okay.
Okay.
Case number 3. Before you get all worried about it, there are 7 cases. So we're not going to hit all of them. Right? I was going to say this is going to be. We will try to do one more, and then we'll call it an evening because these are somebody. I was walking into Daf Yomi one morning, and the person says, "How are you doing with the Mishnayos and Kinim?" I said, "Slowly. Mishnayos and Kinim are very hard." Okay. If you ever a kid wants to learn Mishnayos, this is the Masechta not to start with. Yeah. Kinim.
Keep away from Zevachim.
Kinim is the one. Okay. Now, let's say Pirsha. Let's say when she made her neder, Pirsha nidra. So she said. She made it worse. She said when she's bringing it, she said, I want my olos to be pigeons or doves. Okay? But she didn't remember which one she meant. She said it, but she doesn't remember now. Okay? So now, misafek, she's got to bring 2 olos from each of them. Because we don't know now which one you said you were going to bring. So now congratulations. Now you owe 2 extras. Okay? So therefore, she should have had to bring an additional now. She has to bring Ola. This one, doves. This one, pigeons. This one, either one. So that's what she had to bring now. And, fine. Now, she didn't do that. She brought just one. Okay? So now, what happens now? And the Kohen, of course, doesn't remember what he brought and what he did, what he didn't do. So therefore, Shricha lehavi od shalosh predin. So she now needs to bring 3 additional ones. 3 additional birds. Why? One from the Ola, one to replace the Ola that the Kohen messed up. That was she did bring doves. Let's say this is doves. So she brought the doves. Well, the only problem is this Ola was done below the line. Now she's got to bring another one to replace that one. And then she has to bring these 2, the 2 other Olos, for the other type that she could have brought and she messed up. That's mimin echad. That would be if she only brought one type. However, mishnei minin, let's say she brought 2 types. She brought a chatos and an ola. So now she's going to have to bring 4 because we don't know whether the one that she brought was a dove or a pigeon. So now she has to bring a dove for that and a pigeon for that. Then she has to bring 2 more to replace whatever is the opposite of those that she brought. So now we're up to 4. That's a place for us to stop. We will continue on in this.
She can't tell the difference between a dove and the pigeon?
She forgot which one she brought.
Okay. All right, so we continue with the...
We will continue with it. Yes, we have topic.
Right at the bottom.
Kava Nidra, the last.